Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. Hey, Shalom. This is the brother Yachanan from the GMS Houston camp, and this lesson just going to be going into, these BCIs, these brain-computer interfaces, and the miracles that this devil, is now proclaiming that he can do. Because I'll just go into the article, but he's claiming that his BCIs, they can read your inner thoughts, or your inner speech is what they call it in an article. But I'm going to go ahead and get started. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 9. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. Verse 10, is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new, it hath been already of old time, which was before us. So the point being, there's no new things. Everything that you're seeing, they had it in some kind of way, form, or fashion in ancient times. And before that, before recorded history, whatnot. And I just had some examples in the scriptures, with this, man's devices. And the examples in the scriptures, they're 100% accurate. Whereas in this article, this man, the article is titled, this is from Interesting Engineering. It says, U.S. scientists decode inner speech with 74% accuracy with mental password tech. So what I'm saying is the what's written in the scriptures, how the thoughts and everything were discerned. You had angels that are able to read the mind, to tell what you're thinking. Even Yahushai, he could do it. That they could do it with 100% accuracy, not with 74% accuracy. And they already did it. Now Esau Edom coming up with his left-handed tech, his left-handed witchcraft is he's basically he's trying to do what Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai can do. So this article goes into Stanford University scientists have successfully decoded inner speech, or the silent thoughts of a person's head, with an accuracy rate of up to 74%. This advancement could advance how people with severe speech and motor impairments communicate. So everything that you see going on, the advancements with, what they call BCIs and the C-HIP and these kind of things, like Neuralink and what's the other one? Is it electron, stentrode, things like that. These are all, they're promoting it as things that are going to help people that have impairments, people that can't talk, people that can't walk, can't see, this or that, whatever. But this is all leading up into Revelation 13:16. So the new brain-computer interface, BCI, technology can translate a person's inner thoughts into words activated only when they think a specific mental password. So they're saying, you just have to think the thought and it can be decoded, or you have this password, you got to think it. But knowing this devil, he's going to be recording all your thoughts, everything, all the time, because this devil wants to be like the Most High. He wants to be the Most High. So he can't put nothing past him. He wants to be the Most High. This is the first time we've managed to understand what brain activity looks like when you just think about speaking, said Aaron Coons, lead author from Stanford University. For people with severe speech and motor impairments, BCI is capable of decoding inner speech could help them communicate much more easily and more naturally, Coons added. The brain-computer interface are not new. It enables brain-computer interfaces are not new. It enables direct communication between the brain and external devices. The tech has been used to help people with disabilities control prosthetic limbs by decoding brain signals related to movement. Prior research has shown that brain-computer interfaces can decode attempted speech in people with paralysis by interpreting the brain activity associated with trying to speak. While faster than older methods like eye tracking systems, using BCIs to decode attempted speech can still be physically demanding and slow for people with limited muscle control. This limitation spurred the Stanford team to investigate the possibilities of decoding inner speech, the silent thoughts we have in our heads. So they're using these people that can't communicate to work out the inner thoughts. So they could come up with this technology to work out your inner thoughts, to tell you what you're thinking. Whereas, hey, I'm not gonna focus anymore on the article just for time's sake. This is Genesis, Salakia. This is Genesis chapter 18. And I'm gonna start at verse 10. Well, I'm gonna start at verse 9. Genesis chapter 18 and verse 9. And they said unto him, Where is Sarah thy wife? And this is when the angels came to visit Abraham. And they said unto him, Where is Sarah thy wife? And he said, Behold, in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life. And lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent door, which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, and well stricken in age, and it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, Am I waxen old? Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I am waxen old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old also? So Sarah was up in age, where she, the women's menstrual cycle stops. They stop having, eggs. It's almost unheard of a woman being up in age to having a child. So therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old also? And Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua said unto Abraham, Wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I of surety bear a child, which am old? So they could read, the angels, they could read your thoughts. You don't even have to say anything. This has already been in the scriptures. Nothing is hidden from Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua. And now Esau Edom, the so-called white man who's in charge of the earth at the moment, he wants this. He's trying to get this power, and he's going to attain it for a short minute. And he's doing it through this technology. But now, how do you say, in verse 12 again, it says that she laughed within herself. So she wasn't doing this out loud. She was just in her thoughts. And the angel, and the Lord, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, said unto Abraham, Wherefore did Sarah laugh? So why did Sarah laugh? Saying, Shall I of a surety bear a child, which am old? So reading her mind, like why is she laughing to herself? Why is she say, I'm gonna have a child? I'm old. Is anything too hard for Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua? At the time appointed, I will return unto thee according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laugh not, for she was afraid, And he said, Nay, but thou didst laugh. So, Sarah, being afraid, she lied. She's like, I ain't laugh. I ain't laugh. It's like, I read your mind. I know you were laughing. But just an example in the scriptures that, hey, that your thoughts could be discerned with 100% accuracy. Now, this is Luke chapter 5, and I'm going to read this in the NLT. And the point is in verse 22. I'm going to start at verse 18. Matter of fact, here, I'm going to start at verse 17. This is Luke chapter 5 and verse 17 in the NLT. One day while Yahushua was teaching, some Pharisees and teachers of religious law were sitting nearby. It seemed that these men showed up from every village in all Galilee and Judea, as well from Jerusalem. And the Lord's healing power was strong with Yahushua. Some men carrying a paralyzed man on a sleeping mat. Some men came carrying a paralyzed man on a sleeping mat. They tried to take him inside to Yahushua, but they couldn't reach him because of the crowd. So they went up to the roof and took off some tiles. Then they lowered the sick man on his mat down into the crowd, right in front of Yahushua. Seeing their faith, Yahushua said to the man, Young man, your sins are forgiven. Because if you have understanding, your sins, your transgressions against Yahweh Shem Yahushai, are basically what determine the condition that you in. You could be born blind, you could be paralyzed like this man, you could have mental problems, you could be plagued with demons, all sorts of things, going back to Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. And these are all due to our transgressions against Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. And that's not to every nation. That's the Israelites, because we made a covenant with Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. But continuing on, verse 21, but the Pharisees and teachers of religious law said to themselves, who does he think he is? That's blasphemy. Only the Most High, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, or only God can forgive sins. So again, but the Pharisees and teachers of religious law said to themselves, who does he think he is? That's blasphemy. Only God can forgive sins. So they're arguing, to themselves. Hey, who does this guy think he is? What he thinks how's he going to forgive somebody's sins? Verse 22, Yahushua knew what they were thinking. So he asked them, why do you question this in your hearts? So Yahushua knew these people's thoughts. He had that power. He could tell what you're thinking. Tell whether you're sincere or not. Even with what do you say with referring to Judas? He said, one of you is a devil, and referring to Judas Iscariot. He's able to read your thoughts. Yahushua knew what they were thinking, so he asked them, why do you question this in your hearts? It is easier to say your sins are forgiven or stand up. Is it easier to say your sins are forgiven or stand up and walk? So I will prove to you that the Son of Man has the authority on earth to forgive sins. Then Yahushua turned to the paralyzed man and said, stand up, pick up your mat, and go home. But the point being in this is that your thoughts can be read, and this has already been done in the scriptures. It's already happened. The men of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, the angels, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai can read your thoughts. They can tell all your thoughts. And these devices that Esau Edom is trying to come up with are just counterfeit. You got to have invasive surgery. You got to put his chip in you. So not just so you can read your own thoughts, but so he can read your thoughts, so he can tell what you're thinking. So he can tell what you're thinking. So he can read your thoughts. So he can tell what you're thinking. 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 So Whereas Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, he already just has this power. He's the creator. He don't know your thoughts. He don't know what you're thinking. He don't know you. And another one, the scriptures themselves. This is Hebrews chapter 4 and 12, and I'm gonna get this in the NLT as well. For the word of the Most High, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, is alive and powerful. And just the scriptures. These scriptures are very powerful. It is sharper than the sharpest two-edged sword, cutting between soul and spirit, between joint and marrow. It exposes our innermost thoughts and desires. So these scriptures, they're sharper than any sword, any scalpel, any obsidian blade, anything that you can think of. It cuts all that asunder. It cuts straight to the thoughts. That's also when Yahushua was speaking to the wicked scribes and Pharisees. They were cut to the heart. But the point being, these scriptures also tell you, what you're thinking, what your innermost thoughts are, the thoughts of other people. They even tell you how to discern different things, like even how to discern a hireling, somebody that's just in it for themselves, somebody that just wants to heap disciples unto themselves. It gives you the thoughts of the wicked. It gives you the thoughts of Esau, Edom, the wicked, the so-called white man. How he can only do evil. He sits up on his bed. He can't sleep unless he does evil. It tells you that his tender mercies are cruel. It tells you that he's evil to himself. So who can he be good to? These kind of thoughts. And then, I'm going to close out with this, but the scriptures also tell you the state of the world around us. Now, this is Genesis chapter 6 and verse 5. And Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai saw the wickedness of man, and this is in the time of Noah. This was before the flood came. And the Most High Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. So that was in Noah's time. And this is before the flood came, and their thoughts were only evil continually. How much more in this time? Let me see. I might get to, let me see. Let me try to remember which one it is. This is 2 Peter chapter 2 and verse 5. And spare not the old world, but saved Noah, the eighth person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly. So, and I remember there's another one. There's which for time's sake I'm not going to get it, but it's Yahushua speaking, as in the days of Noah. They were eating, drinking, and he goes also into the days of Lot. They were doing the same thing. And in Genesis, it just said their thoughts were evil continually. They're not focused on Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. They're focused on their flesh. The same thing in these times. These are perilous times. People are only focused about themselves. Narcissists, wanting their own pleasures. Serving themselves, serving their belly. That's all they're thinking about. So, 2 Peter chapter 2 and verse 5, and spare not the old world, but save Noah, the eighth person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly. And verse 6, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow, making them an example unto those that after should live ungodly. So again, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow, making them an ensample unto those that after should live ungodly, and delivered just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked, because your inner thoughts, they come out to what you speak, how you act, how you carry yourself. And if you're in the same mindset like Lot, everything around you is vexing. You want to get out of this. You want to be away from this, because these people, their thoughts are only evil, constant evil, constantly thinking about stupid shit. Matter of fact, verse 8, for that righteous man dwelling among them, in seeing and hearing, vexed his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds. So every day, when I'm gonna read this last verse, and then I'm gonna close out. And the Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptations, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment, to be punished. So, hey, the Lord knows our thoughts. We knows that we're vexed. Hey, in our minds, even though we might not send up a prayer, our groanings, our inner groanings, knowing that we hate this stuff, hey, that's like a prayer, and it gets sent up to the Most High. Yahweh Shem Yahushai. And the Most High, hey, he discerns all that. He knows who's crying out to him, who wants to be delivered from this, who's up, who hates this wicked, lifestyle that's around us, wicked death style. So, hey, this man, Esau Edom, trying to come up with his technology, these are all just counterfeits. They ain't shit. Because Yahweh Shem Yahushai already did it, and he did it on the right-hand side. So, hey, Lord willing, this is edifying. I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Kakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. Hey, Shalom.